I want to thank you all for joining us today. My name is Ria Henry. I am the Workforce Development Coordinator here at Norwalk Acts, also in partnership with the City of Norwalk. So I want to thank you all again for joining us for our first quarterly Workforce Development Committee meeting of the year. So it's a good start for the year. We have some really interesting content to share today. I will get started by sharing our agenda for today. Oops. So today I will share a little bit about our efforts since our last quarterly committee meeting that we held in November. Some updates on resources that we have created in the past, such as our Norwalk Job Board, our resource guide, and then we'll have two presentations. One from the workplace. We have Adrienne Parkman with us today. She will be doing a presentation focused on workforce development programs at the workplace, Norwalk resident enrollment, and how that relates to the top 15 livable wage jobs in Fairfield County. Followed by that, we'll have a presentation from John DeBenedictis. He is from Connecticut State Community College, the Norwalk campus, formerly known as NCC. Similarly, talking about workforce development program enrollment, Norwalk resident enrollment, those programs, and how that relates to the top 15 livable wage jobs in our area. And then we will close and a few final announcements, and then we are good to go. So thank you again for joining us and stay tuned. So if you've been with us before, I really do like to ground this conversation or these presentations in why are we doing this work? What is our challenge here and what is our goal in our workforce development efforts? So our challenge here in Norwalk is, despite there being employer-driven demand that exists here for skilled roles due to inconsistent communication, alignment, among a myriad of our stakeholders in workforce development, from education institutions to training providers, employers, residents, that's really resulted in underemployment here in Norwalk and lack of medium and high skilled talent to meet that employer-driven demand. And then finally, below livable wages for some of our residents. So I want to ground that in some data. About 43% of our households, roughly 14,500 households, are struggling to meet their basic needs, are classified as ALICE. If you are unfamiliar with what ALICE means, it's an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed Individuals. So these are individuals that are either below the federal poverty line or above the federal poverty line, but are still struggling to meet their basic needs living in Norwalk. Another statistic is really around for the last 4 or so graduating classes of Norwalk Public Schools, an average of 30% of those students, so roughly 220 per year, did not enroll in college or university within the first year after graduation. And what this tells us is that these students are going into the workforce without the adequate skills, credentials needed to be competitive, and then also to access livable wage opportunities. So with this challenge, our goal here is really to develop an integrated workforce development infrastructure here in Norwalk that'll then meet that employer-driven demand that exists here, but connect job seekers to education and employment opportunities so that they can then access livable wage employment. Next, I will provide you all with a brief update on our efforts. So since our last meeting in November, in December of 2023, we proposed a pilot project in partnership with Norwalk Housing and Open Doors to provide job training and wraparound services for a cohort of disengaged recent high school graduates. In January of 2024, we received a $150,000 grant to support this work from, it's called the Amplify Grant, from the M&T Bank Charitable Foundation. And so this work is still underway. In January, we also launched a job board marketing campaign. So I will get a little bit more into the job board and the update regarding that, but we really wanted to focus on increasing our marketing efforts around the job. We're getting it out among employers, but also among residents to utilize this resource. In February, we launched a top 15 livable wage jobs in Fairfield County guide project. So that's something that's currently underway as well. And I will get a little bit more into that. And then in March, we convened a working group to help support this project. And the program development for that disengaged youth pilot program is really still underway. And we're making, great strides with that as well. So the Livable Wage Guide project. So this is really a project that came into being through a partnership with the Fairfield County Community Foundation. So we really partnered with the Fairfield County Community Foundation Business Collaborative for Education Equity on a white paper that was published last October that really focused on career pathways and employment opportunities among disengaged youth. So a key takeaway from this report was really that there are about 15 good viable occupations in Fairfield County that will drive roughly about 50% of the good viable jobs in the county, so roughly 4,000 jobs in 2023. So based on the findings of this report, I'll show you, this is pictured on the side. This is kind of a draft of the guide so far. Based on this report, we will provide residents with key information, such as a description, a salary, employment outlook, skills, education training providers for each of these 15 career pathways that were identified in this guide, in this report, so that they'll have that information. And our goal is really to make this very interactive, not just information in a book for you to read, but also to work on creating short video content where we'll be engaging local employers to interview members of the community that are currently occupying these roles. So to give you a little bit more context, these are the 15 livable wage jobs that were identified in the guide. First line supervisors of office and administrative support workers, registered nurses, heavy and tractor trailer drivers, sales representatives for services, but also for wholesale and manufacturing, carpenters, electricians, and many more. They run the gamut. And many of these positions, they vary in terms of the requirements for entry. Some require a bachelor's degree, such as a registered nurse. Others require an apprenticeship, such as carpenters or electricians, others a high school diploma and some on-the-job experience. So they kind of run the gamut. But what is also important that'll be included in the guide is an origin job, which is a category that if this position was to require, for example, a bachelor's degree, what are some positions that require short-term trainings that you could stack credentials, potentially, it's a pipeline to this livable wage career pathway. What is a good starting point, essentially? So we've also included that in the guide. So really excited to have this product, the final product, to share with you all, hopefully at our next quarterly committee meeting. But yes, this is a project that we've really been working hard on. So I will turn over to our update on our resources. So the first update is on our Norwalk Workforce Development Referral Resource Guide. So this was launched last year in 2023, and this is an interactive guide that was launched in partnership with the city and Norwalk Acts that really outlines different training, education, financial support, and support service opportunities in a really interactive tool that can be utilized by case managers. The first version of this guide was really kind of developed with case managers in mind, and the goal is to, in the future, develop a more resident-facing version of this. But we're in the process of updating it currently. But since it's been launched, we've hosted 5 training sessions where we trained over 30 providers, and we have over 966 views on this resource since it's been launched. The Norwalk Job Board. So the Norwalk Job Board is an initiative or resource that was launched in partnership with the Greater Norwalk Chamber, Norwalk Acts, in the city of Norwalk. And the idea behind this is we wanted a low-cost, hyper-local job board where employers in the Greater Norwalk area could access local talent for very minimal cost. It's about $1 to post on there. But also to have residents in Norwalk have a job board that they could find employment opportunities that were in the Greater Norwalk area that provided a livable wage, ideally, but also there were career advancing opportunities that did not require a 2 or 4 year degree. So this was the idea behind the job board. in the beginning of this year, we really focused on launching a marketing campaign to get the word about the job board really out there in the community so that residents could also utilize this more. And also employers are, building awareness of it, being able to post their positions on there. We've seen some traction with that. We're currently working on a press release that'll be released very soon. We have a Norwalk Job Board Day where we encourage our partners every month to post about the Norwalk Job Board. And we've seen quite a bit of traction since then. We're also currently in the process of working to funnel local opportunities that are on other job boards, such as CT Hires, Indeed, other job boards that are, kind of larger than the Norwalk job board, to funnel those opportunities to our job boards so that there's a lot of opportunities on there for our residents. Next, we will have a presentation from Adrienne Parkman from the workplace. She's their Chief Operating Officer. She's going to be talking about their workforce development programs, Norwalk enrollment, and as it relates to the top 15 livable wage jobs that we identified earlier. I will turn it over to Adrienne.
Excellent, excellent. Do you want me to share my screen or do you have it? Or, oh, look at you. That's why you are at the clutch here. So good afternoon, everyone. It is so wonderful to see you. Hopefully you are keeping warm. Who stepped out today and realized that winter came back and didn't tell spring? Because I surely did. No one told me, but that's why I'm back inside. So my name, as Rhea indicates, Adrienne Parkman, and I am the Chief Operating Officer at the workplace. And I'm just going to go over a couple of things about what we do and how it relates to the livable wage jobs and career pathways. And first and foremost, Rhea, thank you for inviting me, and also for the report. I think is right on target. I think so. It does point out a lot of things that are happening, not only in Norwalk and Lower Fairfield County, but I think across our great state. The one thing that we do have that I think is important to know, and that's probably under our opportunities as I speak, is that now is the time more than ever. We have more jobs than people in Connecticut, which I'm sure you've heard and are aware of. Our unemployment rate is about 3.6, and it's been that way for a very protracted period of time. So there is employer demand, which is good, because in years past, we've had more people than jobs. And as a nonprofit and as an entity that's focused on employment and training, we would have to go to employers and try to lean in many ways on their philanthropic side. And we're at a time right now, as I said, there's a shift. And so now it's not about the philanthropic efforts that employers are coming to the table. It's more in self-interest, which is okay, because whatever you're motivated by is all right as long as individuals have an opportunity. So this is a good time for this effort and for all of us to be coming together to make sure that individuals have these opportunities. So just in short, the workplace, for those of you that don't know, we are a old Fairfield County not-for-profit, been around since 1983. Serving the same mission of helping people get into careers and helping employers find the workforce that they need. So what do we do as a workforce development board, particularly in Southwestern Connecticut? Although we have statewide programs and we have programs in 5 states outside of Connecticut, we are responsible in Connecticut for this thing we call WIOA, right? We love to call this WIOA. No one knows who he is, can't find him, searching for WIOA. No one can get in touch with him. He don't call you back, all those things. So WIOA is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, which is actually federal legislation that provides employment and training dollars to each state. With those dollars, what do we do with them? We have to use the majority of those dollars to operate American job centers. So WIOA dollars is not a entity. WIOA is a funding source that supports the American Job Centers. So the dollars we receive, we contract those out to Career Resources, who actually implements and effectuates the WIOA funding for individuals. So we have job centers in Ansonia, Derby, Bridgeport, and Stanford, and we have now, staff in the Norwalk City Hall that is helping individuals, and we'll talk about that shortly. We also have a mobile career coach, and I should have put a picture in here, but it's a 39-foot Winnebago. This is our second one. We purchased the first one in 2004, and the purpose of that vehicle is to take services to people, because we know transportation can be a huge barrier in southwestern Connecticut. So we want to make sure individuals can get the services they need, or at least start the process. So that mobile career coach goes to the Norwalk Library, and it's on a regular schedule of doing that. Jobs First Employment Services we operate, which is used to be called the Welfare to Work program. And so we serve individuals that are in the Norwalk area that are receiving cash assistance that are time limited. Our Career Hub program is under that is our WIOA Youth program, which is again WIOA funding that comes to us to serve youth between the ages of 14 and 24. We have a Building Better Futures program, which is actually funded by the state of Connecticut, focusing on preparing young people for infrastructure jobs. So as we know, the bipartisan infrastructure bill has produced a lot of dollars to states, but it takes a little bit of time for infrastructure jobs to get off the ground. And so we proposed to the General Assembly last year that we create a program to start to get our young people ready for some of those jobs once those shovels get in the ground. So we have those dollars to support that. We have our Connecticut Youth Employment Program, which is our summer jobs program. Last year on a statewide basis, it was funded at $5 million. It's in the budget this year for $10 million for summer youth. So we receive about 20% of that pool for summer youth. Last year, we were able to support around 300 or so youth, and so we're hoping to be able to double that. The need is always greater than the dollars, of course, and we serve less now than we used to in prior years, because you have to pay at least a minimum wage for up to 20 hours a week. We also serve youth that have disabilities. We have a contract with Bureau of Rehab Services that provides us dollars to help kids with disabilities get employment, get their first job, as well as dollars from the Department of Children and Family to work with students as well. Our Health Career Academy, we will talk about, focuses on healthcare occupations, which is one of the top jobs is, registered nurse. And so some of the dollars that we have can provide opportunities for individuals from entry level, as you call origin jobs, all the way through a target job as a registered nurse. We have dollars for manufacturing that we'll talk about, transportation, information technology as well. And we have our Platform to Employment program, which is another funding source that we wrote a grant many years ago to the state. Actually, we came up with the program prior to, it was the one focused on, highlighted on 60 Minutes, but we received money from the state of Connecticut to implement our Platform to Employment program, which is there to help individuals who have experienced unemployment, long-term unemployment, to get back into work. So this is just a quick snapshot of the program. We're operating, I believe, about 32 different funding sources right now, all focused on workforce development and getting individuals back to work. Next slide. Just a little note about, our programs. All of our programs include job readiness and prep, whether it's resume writing, motivational interviewing, work essential skills, which, are soft skills. Is it enough? Not always. You just don't have enough time to sometimes get folks totally together where you need them, but all programs have to require that. Our youth program, under the statute and the regulations, all of these things have to be in place. We have 14 elements that have to be in place for all of our youth programs. So those are all included. All have access to occupational skills training. All have job search and placement. So if an individual needs help with just job search, they don't need occupational skills training. They just want to come in for a job, that's okay. You can enter at any place. We meet you where you are. They all have support services. So whether it's transportation, technology, childcare, you name it, the dollars are there for individuals to try to mitigate those barriers to getting to training as well as getting to employment. In our WIOA program, we have a 12-month follow-up. So once you actually maybe get employment and you exit the program for 12 months subsequent to that, we still provide support services. So we have a 12-month retention benchmark. So while an individual is in retention follow-up, we can provide all those support services as well. And some of our programs offer stipends. We've started to build those in because we know how important those are. And we do a lot of wage subsidies, which means the individuals are on our payroll. And it's a no-risk opportunity for the employer so that they can actually see how the person is going to work out, and the person can see if this is a good place for them to work as well. And so we pay their wages while they're working at employers. And we pay the actual wage. So it's not, we set the wage, it's a minimum wage. If it's 30,000, 40,000, 25,000, 70,000, whatever the cost of the job is, that's what we pay during the wage subsidy piece. Next slide. So these are kind of like busy slides, and we can send these out, but just the pathways program, you talk about the different, origin jobs and then moving to your middle job and your target. That's what we try to build out with everyone in an individual employment plan. So we have individual employment plans in every program, and we sit down with individuals and talk about, okay, where is it you want to go? What is it you're trying to get to? Most times, a lot of, especially if we're talking young people, they don't know. And the issue is they don't know what they don't know. If I've never been exposed to it, I don't know what the name is, because some of this, the HAZWOPER, I didn't know what that was. Somebody asked me if I wanted to take HAZWOPER. What? I have no idea what this is. What is a HAZWOPER? I didn't even know what it sounded like. So how would I know if I wanted to take it, and how is it applicable to something? I wouldn't know. So a lot of this is about exposing young people to what these target occupations are, and just helping them to understand what the benefit of it. So we have programs and training available for entry-level machine operator. We work with employers to find out, okay, what are your openings, and really, really try to dig down with the employer so that we can, help the youth come in. They understand what's available. They understand how many job openings there are, and they understand how much money they're going to make, because that's important. When we talk about how do you attract young people, because that's going to be I'll talk about that in a minute around some of the challenges. Kids are led by money. I mean, in the conversation. If you're not speaking their language, then you're not going to attract them. So we can, sit here as adults and say, oh, in 5 years, look where you can be. That's all well and good, but if I'm a youth and I don't know what's going to happen to me tonight or tomorrow morning, I'm not thinking long term. And that's what we find, which is very sad, that our youth are in a situation where they can't even sometimes begin to think about long-term goals. And it's just because of where they are right now. So we have to help develop that and start to exercise that muscle for them, that you can think beyond tomorrow. You can think a year out, 2 years out, to help them to understand that you need to put in the work and you will have the benefits. So we have, like I said, entry-level machine operator. We talked about CNC operator, and there's a CNC 1 and a CNC 2, and we work with CT State. They are our main training provider on these programs. So we try to work with them to get on a regular cadence of schedule to offer these. We go into high schools and we do that. I know one of our staff is working with P-Tech in Norwalk around putting some IT programs and further developing some of those IT programs. But we do go into, we have a programs operating now in Derby High School, Ansonia High School, and they're working on a couple of other high schools in our region to get the programs in school, because we know once a kid gets out of school, it's very difficult to get them in in the evening, after school. There's so many responsibilities and so many competing interests. So we have that. We offer OSHA 10, 30. My favorite is the HAZWOPER, as I said. One of the things we also do is flagger training, because all these infrastructure jobs, and it was funny, I was on a call with DOL and they were talking about this infrastructure, and the gentleman there said, next time you're in traffic on 95 or on the Merritt, just think of it as infrastructure jobs working. I said, I'm just thinking of it as I'm going to be late for where I need to be, but I'm going to try to shift my mindset and really say, look, at this infrastructure is working because we have traffic and there's construction. So a lot of construction companies now are using flaggers as opposed to using the police department because of the cost. So we actually do flagger training directly. We have a trainer on staff that does that and can get folks hired, as well as forklift and commercial driver's license, A and B, that we provide as well. So all those pipelines are available. And under that, I put some of the funding sources we have that can provide access to these careers in manufacturing.
I'd like to ask a question, please.
Sure.
Is there any effort to get young women into this non-traditional job trade? That is something that has been very stereotyped in terms of young women, but this is a very lucrative career path that young people can get into. Not only get into this as terms of job, but end up being future business owners. So I just wondered if there's been any effort to pull women.
That's a very good question, and absolutely. So there's a lot of, focus on non-traditional occupations for women, and not only in manufacturing, but in construction. I have a youth build program where I have 3 young girls that are in our youth build that are learning construction skills because they want to do construction. I think there's a lot more work, and again, it's about that exposure. Because a lot of kids, whether they're male or female, when they think of manufacturing, they think it's an old, dirty, I'm going to be working, on a line. And we know that manufacturing now is clean, that it's high tech. We work with a lot of companies, and, you go into their manufacturing floor, it's cleaner than like some hospitals that you would see. So it's just about that exposure and letting kids know, again, how much money, as you said, how much money is available, how you can be an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of opportunity for that. So we really need to do a lot more work on that, but it is something that, we try to focus on. So I have 3 in construction, young ladies. They're trying to hold on to them. And we had 1 in manufacturing as well, who actually did an apprenticeship at Bigelow, and she's still there. So, because they're a big partner in our apprenticeship program in manufacturing. Next slide, I think, is healthcare. So healthcare again, busy. I'm sorry?
We have about 5 minutes left. Just want to be mindful of
Okay,
it.
so you're telling me to hurry up. Okay, got it. I know. I can get chatty Cathy, I get it. So healthcare, again, career pathways, we have tons of them. They start off as CNA. Direct service provider is, working with individuals that might be homebound or have some type of disability. So we do DSP training, again, and all the other training leading up to nursing. So we have Career Connect dollars that do it. WIOA dollars. We have dollars for community health worker. We have a grant from HHS. We have a nursing expansion grant that's looking at taking individuals who are CNAs and medical assistants and who might want to go into nursing. So to take them, to bridge them into LPN programs. We're working with 3 schools right now for that. And then they can go from LPN to nursing. So those funding sources are available as well. Next slide. Where have we served Norwalk? These are some of them that we pulled a little bit of from July through February, the number of individuals with a Norwalk residence that have used the services. And some of them, they just come in for job search. So they might come on the career coach. They may go into DOL offices and just get job search under Wagner Pizer. There's a variety of things that people come in for. So those are the numbers that we have right now. And still, a lot of people are in training, because if they're in a training program outside of a CNA, which is about 4 or 5 weeks, some go up to 6 weeks. A lot of them are longer term training, and depending on when the training starts, they might still be in some training. So just wanted to give you that information. And they're in a variety of our training programs. A lot of them are in manufacturing, healthcare, of course, with the Health Career Academy, transportation, taking CDL, and others are in different training occupations as well. So again, the one thing about our system is that we're mandated that it's by choice. It's customer choice. So you try to do as much exposure and information as you can. Next slide. So one of the things on the horizon, I know one of the things in the report was around office administration and remote jobs. We have a program called Remote Works that we are kicking off. We've received some money from the state, and we got some money from the feds to do a remote works program to train individuals. We got a grant for Energy Works that's looking at jobs and clean energy, and we're looking at trying to form a clean energy academy and really focus on those jobs that will be coming. Again, we have our IT program, and a meeting was already done with P-TECH and Victor Black. He wants to develop a more robust IT program, so we're working with him on that. And I did tell you about our summer youth program, and focusing on the internships, a paid internship through our wage subsidy, and VR goggles. And I just wanted this quick little video. This is our new thing. As we talk about how hard it is to recruit kids, VR and virtual reality is a big thing. It gives me a headache. I get dizzy. I'm just clearly not the one for this type of thing. But kids love this, and it's a way to expose them. And businesses are using this to help to train. And we've gotten a lot of feedback from businesses that they're interested. So I just wanted to show you a quick video about how the VR goggles that we use work. You have sound?
Not, can you not hear it?
No. Did you click the little button on Zoom?
What little button on Zoom?
When you share the screen, you click the sound that's in the left-hand corner. Well, you can just play it. But what it basically does is it, shows individuals they're actually doing the job that an employer would need, and they're using it as a training tool for individuals. And they have these videos in all different types of occupations. So healthcare, this one is manufacturing. You can see they're learning how to use these machines. The healthcare one, kind of freaked me out because you actually can draw blood. So you can see how that actually operates, but it's absolutely fascinating. And it is attracting young people because they can actually see it. It's not just something they read about. It's not a flyer. It's not us talking, but we've been working with Transfer now for about 6 or 8 months, and they're continuing to develop these virtual goggles for particular occupations. And I think it might be good when we talk about bringing any kids together or this group to have a demonstration from one of our staffs on how we use it. So next slide. I know I have about 30 seconds, or I'm probably over. I'm probably going to get the Apollo come off the stage kind of thing, Ryan.
That was the last slide, Adrienne.
Okay, well, thank you for that. And the only one thing that I wanted to mention, like some of the challenges that we have are just, recruitment, of course, is a huge challenge. Getting kids to be interested in their futures is a lot harder now than it used to be. And a lot of those work essential skills or those soft skills, it's very difficult. One of the issues that we've seen recently with kids and trying to get them in manufacturing and construction is a lot of kids smoke weed because it's legal. And companies are not hiring you, although it's legal, if it's in your system. And so having that conversation with kids, that honest conversation, understand it's legal, but let me tell you, you are not going to get a job. You are not going to be put on a construction site. You're not going to be put in this manufacturing. You're not getting into healthcare if you are testing positive for marijuana. So that's a real conversation that has to happen so that they are aware that this could impede their opportunities. But there is a whole bunch of opportunities for collaboration. Look forward to having the conversation.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you.
I just wanted to just quickly mention that I thought it was on the healthcare. I've been trying to get young men to go into the health industry. You
Mhm.
notice in the hospitals you have a lot, not necessarily young African American young people, but most people from other countries that
Yep.
are in the health going to for the PCTs and to CNAs and to nursing. And so you have the problem on the manufacturing side where you don't have women. On the healthcare side, you have very few men. So
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. Well, we can change that.
Thank you. Next, we will have a presentation from John De Benedictis from CT State Community College, Norwalk campus. He is the Director of Non-Credit Programs.
Thank you, Rhea. Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be with all of you today. It's great to see so many familiar faces and names on the call. And Rhea, thank you for pulling this all together and for everything you do. I wanted to share with you some of what we have going on in terms of our non-credit certificate programs here at CT State Norwalk, formerly Norwalk Community College. In particular, what I'm going to speak with you all about today are what, for all intents and purposes, are our 10 most popular and well-enrolled non-credit certificate programs. Couple things to keep in mind when looking at this information. The document represents enrollments for the fall 23, spring 24 semesters only. So it's the current academic years. The enrollment numbers for the current semester are fluid for the simple fact that some of the programs have not yet finished. And one of them, our bartending certification program for this semester, has not yet started. So the numbers could likely fluctuate, will likely fluctuate between now and the end of the semester in May. As I mentioned a moment ago, I'm going to discuss with you the 10 most well-enrolled non-credit certificate programs here at CT State Norwalk. This does not include enrollment for our smaller non-credit certificate programs and for our non-credit continuing education classes. That's still where we see the majority of our enrollment would be for our Microsoft Excel for Beginners course, our conversational Spanish, gardening classes, things of that sort, personal enrichment courses, really. In the latter, particularly those continuing ed classes, those personal enrichment classes, would likely show higher enrollment with a larger number of Norwalk residents, because that's one of the other things I'm going to speak with you all about today, is the number of Norwalk residents who are enrolled in our programs. And of course, finally, enrollment for our College for Kids programs is not included, though those programs consist largely of students, young adults, grades 2 through 12, children, grades 2 through 12, really, here in Norwalk. Thank you. Next slide, please. So if you want to look at it broken down by industry, these are the 4 sectors, largely with what we're dealing with for non-credit. Allied health, which has always been our bread and butter here. Business, information technology, and hospitality. So the programs that you will see listed momentarily are all affiliated with one of those sectors. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is quite telling, I think, of the state of affairs, I suppose. Far and away, our most well-enrolled program right now is our real estate certification. The housing market continues to be strong. And it's an intense program, real estate. It lasts almost the entire duration of the semester. But it has been, since I came on board here 2.5 years ago, our most consistently strong, well-enrolled non-credit program here on campus. So much so that we have 3 different sections of real estate that we run each and every semester, 3 different instructors, and we are at capacity for nearly every single one of those sections. The thing you never know with this is you never know what the housing market's going to do. And if that changes, I suspect that we might see a decline in enrollment. But right now, the program remains very strong for our students. CNA is still our banner allied health program. We run 3 sections of it for the main academic terms and 2 sections of it in the summer. We are fortunate in that there's so many grant opportunities out there for CNA students. It's WIOA eligible program. There's the CT SHIP grant. There's a lot of opportunity for people who live in this area to take advantage of this and to enroll in our CNA program. We were also the first in the state across CT State Community College to run CNA in an accelerated format. Now it's a lot more intense because you're talking about taking a 14-week semester and condensing all of the lessons, all of the clinicals, everything into 7 weeks. But that was the call. That was the request. Employers are hiring CNAs. That remains very popular. There's a lot of job opportunity out there for CNAs. We now have it built into the curriculum each and every term for recruiters from local healthcare organizations, hospitals, to come in and speak to all the students to present to them about employment opportunities for CNA. As we go down the list, a couple of years ago, not even 2 years ago, we started with the Google IT Support Certificate, non-credit certificate focusing on IT support. And this has slowly but surely gained momentum and become far and away our most popular certification in terms of IT. Physical therapy aid, which just started last week, this current semester, remains a very strong allied health non-credit certificate program. It's a great opportunity for someone who really wants to get a foot in the door in healthcare. It's a quick certification program. They can do the entire class in 6 weeks. Bookkeeping has recently been retooled. Whereas previously the students would register for the courses a la carte, they would take 1 class at a time. They now register for the full certificate, and the certificate takes them approximately 1 year to complete, but there are plenty of job opportunities there. As we go down the list, medical billing and coding remains a very popular program. What's unique about that in terms of allied health programs at the non-credit level, the majority of that work can be done fully remote. Amazon Web Services, not unlike Google IT support, is a relatively new IT certification, which is gaining some momentum. Bartending. There's a lot of hospitality work out there, particularly in this area. So we continue to have a very strong bartending program. And as we look at the last 2 on the list, dental assistant. We are one of only 3 campuses across CT State Community College to offer a dental assistant program. There is tremendous job growth opportunity for dental assistants in Southwestern Connecticut in this area in particular. We have forged clinical partnerships with 5 dental practices across Fairfield County to give our dental students hands-on training and to also give them pathways to employment. We have a fully functional dental assistant lab. Our teacher/program coordinator is also a professor for the dental hygienist program up the road at the University of Bridgeport. We are very fortunate to have her, and we really want to see our dental assistant program grow in the coming semesters, because like I said, I think the pathway for employment is big there. And finally, Microsoft Office Specialist, something that we just started this fall, and we're doing quite well with. This, of course, gets students certified across all 5 different software within the Microsoft Office suite, which is exciting. Now, let's go on to the next slide, please, if we could. Thank you so much. It's a different snapshot of the information I just gave you. This breaks down all of the top 10 non-credit certificate programs here at CT State Norwalk. But if you look at the number in gray, that is the percentage of the students in the program, in the individual programs, who are Norwalk residents. And I think now would be a nice time to really highlight a partnership that we forged back in the fall of 2023 with Norwalk Public Schools. We work in tandem with their workforce development person, Carol Wiltshire Toth, to give opportunities to 11th and 12th graders to complete specific online non-credit certificates. This is funded by Norwalk Public Schools. We have so far, in just the first academic year of this partnership, had close to 40 students registered in this. The majority of them are registering for our IT support programs, but we have had some even in real estate. And for the fall, we are looking into opportunities for healthcare and other programs as well. Again, this is at no cost to the students or their families. We're doing on-site advising and registration at Brian McMahon and Norwalk High School for the students. We're there typically 2 or 3 times each semester. And what we've seen, first and foremost, are a wonderful group of young adults from the city who are participating in these non-credit certificate programs. But we've also seen an increase, if you look at these numbers, particularly for something like Amazon Web Services, Google IT support, you're seeing a large number of Norwalk residents participating in this. And much of that is thanks to this partnership with Norwalk Public Schools. The same can be said for Microsoft Office Specialist. Next slide, please. So how are these programs connected to the top 15 livable wage jobs in Fairfield County? Well, let's break it down as we go through each column here. Registered nurse. Ultimately, when you look at something like CNA, physical therapy aide, medical billing and coding, even dental assistant, it's a good starting salary. It can oftentimes be a challenge to really earn and maintain a livable wage. But what those programs do is provide a wonderful bridge to RN and even beyond. A real estate certification program, of course, will ultimately land someone the opportunity to become a real estate sales agent. Then you look at something like Google IT support, Amazon Web Services, and that's computer user support specialist. Microsoft Office specialist, bookkeeping. There's a few different ways you can go there, from sales reps to human resources, securities, commodities. And then, of course, Microsoft Office specialist, again, you have the opportunity with paralegal and legal assistant, administrative assistants, executive secretaries, and so on and so on. So we continue to try to keep our finger on the pulse of what the labor market demands are and what's going on here in the city of Norwalk in terms of job opportunities. And it's really been
John,
yes.
I don't work with that many young people. I mostly work with adults, but I have been steering them more. A lot of my clients are CNAs, For
Sure.
those that have been interested in becoming CNAs, I have been kind of not introducing them to becoming patient care technicians because of the diversity of the training. They not only they have the 3 certifications, they have it in phlebotomy and of course EKG, which actually pays more if they go into the hospital and they're more versatile. Have you considered? I know that's probably a lot for young people to take in, but you know that they do start at a higher wage than the CNA.
They do, and thank you for the question. We have considered it. It comes down to instructor availability, and that's been the biggest challenge. We're very fortunate to have an outstanding CNA instructor and program coordinator. We have an exceptional phlebotomy instructor and program coordinator. It's the third component that becomes a challenge, if you would believe it, and that's EKG. We are working on the fall schedule. We're considering PCT for the fall. We just need to see how everything's aligned. Our phlebotomy instructor can teach EKG. I don't know that they necessarily have the bandwidth to do both EKG and phlebotomy at the same time. So it comes down to scheduling, but it's certainly something that we are considering because Betty, you're not the first person to ask me that this week. Even there's a lot of inquiries and a lot of interest in PCT.
Hey, John, thanks for the presentation. It was super
Sure.
helpful. I have a quick question. I was struck by the number of people enrolled in the real estate program, and just curious if you have any idea if those folks are going into positions full time in terms of being realtors, or do you know if it's kind of a mix of part-time and full-time and so forth?
It's very much a mix. And I'll be honest with you, not every single one of them who finishes the program ultimately goes on to real estate. But we have seen a mix of part-time and full-time. We're fortunate, Jesse, in that our instructors also do help significantly in terms of networking and trying to get the students a foot in the door.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Do we have any
Thank
other
you.
questions before we move on?
Yes, I'm sorry. It has nothing to do with that. All these presentations that we have here, are we going to get that into our email when we finish?
Yes, so I will send out a copy of the presentation in your email if you registered. You'll get a copy.
Okay, and also the flyers too, right? Is that the one? Did Jasmine send that already? Because I didn't get a chance to look at the one that she sent this week about
I'm
the
sorry.
jobs. On the beginning about the jobs, CT hires, and all that. The one that you was presenting.
Yes,
Okay, I would like to have that if possible, please.
I'll be sharing that.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I'm kind of curious. This presentation, I mean, of course I'm working in Stanford, and I realized that the services through Career Resources reaches the whole county. I'm wondering, has there been any kind of marketing, so to speak, in the Stanford area?
Is that a question specifically for John or is it for me? I'm not sure. I don't know who asked the question.
Ms. McCree asked that question. Betty?
I think
You're
she's muted or on the
Yes,
phone.
McCree, I did. I asked the question. It's kind of a general question, but I think the marketing to the Norwalk schools is awesome, and I had not heard anything of this nature in the Stanford area, which it might be. I'd like to get the name of the person that, if it is. I only come in contact with the Norwalk non-credited program because I work with individuals on SNAP who were able to, families on SNAP can go to the community colleges, and the same cachet of classes that are offered, you know, people can, some of them, they can get through if they are SNAP recipients. So I'm just kind of throwing a question out there, and if anyone can toss a little information back, it would be greatly appreciated.
Sure. So specifically as it relates to our efforts, they're focused on Norwalk residents specifically. So that's perhaps like why there hasn't been like a large marketing push in terms of in Stamford. As it relates to CT State and their programming, I will defer to John to answer on that part.
Thank you. There has been a significant amount of outreach to Stamford in general. We don't have this sort of partnership with Stamford Public Schools that we have with Norwalk Public Schools, though it has been discussed on several occasions over the last several months. I don't know if it's something that would come together, but I would absolutely welcome that. We do participate in a variety of events in and throughout the city of Stamford. We also have our large marketing material, which is our brochure and catalog, which gets sent out to residents all throughout Norwalk and all throughout Stamford. And everywhere in between.
Thanks.
Okay, then I probably will, if you don't mind, I guess in the information will get there be a way to get in contact with you. I'd like to see something like that happen here. I saw something in chat, I missed it, but
Please reach out. Sure.
we are making Stamford. Okay, okay, but I really would like to see something like that happen here.
That'd be
And,
great.
yeah.
Thank you. Lynette, last question before we have to move on.
Hello, everyone. I just wanted to thank everybody who presented. It was great information, great stuff happening. My question is specifically for the workplace and the job board. You know, a lot of our residents, obviously here in Norwalk, you know, are looking for jobs, and you know, the job board is amazing and it's great. The only thing that I have to say is just like, how are we marketing to our residents in a way that we're really getting the word out? Because like, obviously, like I'm a family navigator and I have my colleagues here as well. But I just feel like it should be a little bit more like marketing in a way that it's getting to people, because a lot of our residents are Hispanics. A lot of our residents don't even know how to, you know, use the computer and stuff like this. So I'm just saying, like, how can we get this out there so more residents know what's going on, like with the workplace and all the things that they're offering, and then our job board that's so amazing.
Great question. So in terms of our resources in general, we are doing ads, specifically as it relates to the job board. We're working to really populate the job board with a lot of jobs so that we can, when we send residents this job board, there's a lot of positions on there for them to apply. We're also working to get that translated, like translation services, so it's also more accessible when residents that may not speak English or that's not their first language, it's more accessible. So we're working to get the word out there. This is why we've been working on this marketing campaign. We do acknowledge and realize that we would like it to be more community facing. We want residents to take advantage of it. We just don't want to send them to a job board that doesn't have a lot of opportunities yet. So our efforts have really been focused on getting employers engaged to post on the job board initially. And then we have also formed partnerships with local organizations, nonprofits in Norwalk to get their clients up to speed with what's happening with the job board. I see that we have a couple other questions. If you could put them in the chat, I would really appreciate that. We're just at time. But thank you for that question, Lynette.
Can I just add something as another, like an employment-based program, and I put our flyer in the chat, but one thing that I'm noticing with just the mention of like not having the language skills or the computer skills to even get this information, that is like a base skill that has to be really, really enforced with clients first, right? Because when we're talking about training programs and NCC instructors and all these things, the language skills and computer skills are really important for everyone. And I know so many, you know, we're trying to encourage people to go get those skills and referrals and things like that. But I think a lot of frustration with clients sometimes is when they get this information and it doesn't like match their need. You know, if someone has a needs those base skills, they need those first, right? There's jobs on Indeed or Craigslist where you could start working while you work on these other things. But I don't know if necessarily the job board or these types of training programs where you have to be able to understand and read coursework, check your emails, use a laptop, those clients have to be like over and over again encouraged to, you got to go to a class, you got to try this, because everything is getting more and more and more, you know, the grocery store, everything, your kid's school. So I feel for those clients. And I know we have a very large population in the area that has those needs. But in reality, a lot of the times, these resources are not for people that don't have the base skills of the language and tech skills for these days. I just, you know, it's something that we see a lot. And I know clients are trying to get into trainings and things like that, but without that base skill and referring them back to English and referring them and reinforcing computers, it's delaying, you know, their progress, which is kind of their choice. But I just big shout out to everyone to like really reinforce that with clients, that these are basic skills these days and kind of a must, except for limited and low paying opportunities.
Thanks. I want to thank you all for your questions. I think the presentations were great. Thank you to John and Adrian. Very informative. Just quickly, our next steps in terms of our efforts is really to complete this top 15 job guide by summer 2024. So working to kind of curate those videos that we mentioned before and add the information for all 15 of those pathways. Also, to continue marketing our resources. So expanding on the Norwalk referral resource guide, updating the information that's currently in there, and expanding our marketing efforts in terms of the Norwalk job board. So those are our next steps. Finally, if you are not subscribed to the Norwalk Workforce Development newsletter, please subscribe. This is the best way to stay in touch with what we're doing in our workforce development efforts, learn more about opportunities and updates, whether you're a resident, a case manager, an employer. It's just a good resource for the community in general. So please subscribe to the newsletter. And I want to thank you all for joining us for our first committee meeting of the year and look forward to seeing you at the next one. Thank you.